Are you ready to take your business to the next level? Every day, there are countless books and articles that are published offering the key on how to make your business a success. It's easy to feel overwhelmed trying to keep up and run your business. That's why Deb Creer created the Business Power Hour. Keep up on the latest trends, best practices, and techniques for how to make your business a success. Let the Business Power Hour do the heavy work for you.
Good morning. Good morning. I am Deb Creer, and I am passionate about giving professionals the tools that they need to make themselves and their businesses as successful as possible. And I am so excited today to talk to my guest because we're going to be learning so much from him because he is so experienced. And so we're going to have a great conversation today. So please join me in welcoming Qamar Zaman to our program today. Welcome, Qamar. How are you?
Thanks, Deb, for having me.
Perfect. Well, let me tell people a little bit about you, and then we will jump into this. So, with over 19 years of experience in online marketing, web development, and SEO, Kamar Zaman is the founder and CEO of KISS PR, a press release distribution platform, and other things that helps local businesses reach global audiences. He is also a Forbes Agency Council member, a Microsoft certified internet engineer, and a Google Analytics and AdWords certified professional. As a digital transformation specialist and a storytelling expert, Kamar leads a team of storytellers who create and distribute engaging content and news for various niches, including legal, business, health sciences, and technology. He has established partnerships with major global outlets, including AP News, Yahoo Finance, Bloomberg, and Business Insider, and he helps amplify and grow small brands. Kamar's mission is to empower entrepreneurs and innovators with the tools and resources they need to succeed in the digital area. So again, Kamar, welcome.
Thank you, Deb, for having me. And it was a mouthful. There are a lot of things you reminded me that I don't even remember anymore because I don't look at my resume.
Right, we don't.
Because
And that's one of the things we should, we should
Mhm.
review probably once a year, right?
Right.
And I have to admit, I am jealous. For those of you who are just listening, Kamar's background is this gorgeous beach in the Cayman Islands. And that's actually, it is a photo, but that is the beach that he runs on every day. And so I am just so jealous. But it goes to show that we really can work and be very successful anywhere in the world. So, Kamar, I always like hearing about how our guests got to where they are today. So, tell us a little bit more about yourself.
I grew up in Pakistan,
Mm-hmm.
and while I was a high school student, my dad was in international banking. Pakistan
Ah,
was a country that was evolving at that time.
mm-hmm,
We had just been free from the British Empire, so the
mm-hmm,
country was developing. My dad was an early adapter to the
mm-hmm.
banking industry, so he was doing very well. And then, because of that, we went to Hong Kong.
Ah,
And Hong Kong is where I went to school
mm-hmm,
among other places. But that's when I was actually growing up, and that I can remember. And then my dad decided that he says, "Where do you want to go to the
mm-hmm,
college?"
mm-hmm.
Uh, prior to Hong Kong, I was living in UK. I was
Okay.
in a boarding school because we lived in London, so we
Mm-hmm,
traveled a
mm-hmm,
lot. So now it was about time that you have to decide going from high school to college.
mm-hmm,
So I decided to go to Michigan State. And so my dad said, go apply for the colleges.
mm-hmm,
It was a American council, so I went there with him. I applied for 4 universities.
mm-hmm,
I got accepted by 2 of them while I was waiting for the others.
mm-hmm,
Caltech was one of them. Michigan State was the other one.
mm-hmm.
I accepted Michigan State, or I didn't. He did, because his choice was. He didn't tell me, and I didn't know much about it. He told me that the reason I want you to go to Michigan State because I have some friends there.
Ah,
So
okay.
I went there, and
Mm-hmm,
my journey to the U.S. started.
mm-hmm,
And the year that I landed, it was December and Michigan in
Oh, in
December
Michigan? Ooh.
was blizzards, right? And I knew I was in the wrong place, but I was stuck. My dad
Hmm.
played a card on me because he wanted me to stay there and not have fun. So
Ah,
I
he was a
was,
wise man.
he was a wise man. So I started, and after a year or so, when I got my first freshman completed,
Hmm.
my dad was in the process of starting a banking operation, offshore banking operation
Hmm.
in the Cayman Islands, and he
Okay.
knew somebody there. So he said, this summer you go to Cayman for 2 weeks. So I
Hmm.
think it was around, um, I think May, I think it was.
Hmm.
And I visited the Cayman Islands. I was 17
Hmm.
and I visited to the islands and I fell in love with it. Even though I didn't know how to swim, I loved the ocean.
And it was
You know,
not Michigan.
it was not Michigan. It was kind of where I am today,
Hmm.
ideally. So it kind of stayed back with me. And I graduated college, went back, worked with my dad in the software development industry,
Hmm.
etc. And I did the banking operations, build software for the banks because
Hmm.
he was in banking. He ultimately retired. He wanted me to work for his bank, and I didn't want to work with my dad.
Hmm.
So I came back to the islands, and I got a job when I was 21.
Hmm.
I got a job as a banking software specialist.
Oh.
And the reason I got that job, because in the Cayman Islands, there's a law that when you have to hire somebody, you have to advertise in the local paper. The
Okay.
paper is called Caymanian Compass.
Hmm.
You have to advertise, and if somebody applies and they have to be a local, you have to
Hmm.
give the job to them. If nobody
Oh,
does, then you can give it to anyone else.
okay.
Now, the skill that they were looking for, the company, no local would qualify.
Mm.
Okay, at that point. So I
Hmm.
had the skill, I had a
Hmm.
degree, I had all the background.
Hmm.
So I applied, I got the job. They
Hmm.
sent me to Guernsey in the Channel Islands to train.
Hmm.
And that is when I'm talking about back in the days, 1987, I got my $60,000 per year job in
Wow.
the Cayman Islands. This is when, so I didn't know what to do with the money.
Hmm.
I was like young and obviously stupid. So it's kind of like, but I kept on, I enjoyed the island,
Hmm.
at a place here. And then I left after a few years because I wanted to go and do my master's. So the
Hmm.
island stayed with me.
Hmm.
And I kept on coming back. Fast forward, I finally came, worked in the islands for
Hmm.
7, 8 years, got myself really established. The kids and wife wanted to go to the US. Everybody says, colleges,
Hmm.
etc. So we moved back to Texas.
Hmm.
And while I was in Texas doing my business, uh, and I had a job with a major company.
Hmm.
I was doing good. Wife was doing her CPA. Kids were going to school.
Hmm.
But internally, Kamar was not happy.
Hmm.
I was like, this is not me.
Hmm.
I'm too, God didn't create me for this,
Right.
So I kind of kept on pursuing. And
Hmm.
one time I came back to the island and I said, you know what? I want to quit. My wife had just got a job. And I said, listen, now you have a job.
Hmm.
She got a really good job.
Hmm.
And I said, I'm going to go back and start what I want to do. So
Hmm.
I came on the island. There's this, and this is where my journey starts. And there are a lot of tragedies here. So I come on the island. There's a
Hmm.
place called Cafe del Sol.
Hmm.
Cafe del Sol is a coffee shop on the island, close to the ocean, not overlooking, but close to the ocean.
Hmm.
Make friends with these people. And I sit every day with my laptop and I'm working and I'm trying to build software to
Hmm.
do what I want to do before I can really find out what my cause is, what I
Hmm.
really want to do.
Hmm.
People will come to me and says, older men, younger men, they'll say, well, what are you doing? I says, I'm building a wireframe for the website. He says, oh,
Hmm.
tell us. So I'll write it on the piece of napkin how it needs to work because
Hmm.
of how I am. I'm very linear.
Right.
And that's when I started to build websites,
Uh-huh.
etc. So in a 1 month, without marketing, on a coffee table, I would guide people, and I was banking about 30 to $40,000 worth of business.
Wow.
In when I am around 27, 28 years.
Hmm.
Okay. this is like phenomenal for
I was
me.
going to say in Grand Cayman, that's an awful lot of money.
Yes, and no taxes.
Mm-hmm.
So life was going great. Then comes the tragedy. September 12th, 2004, there was a major hurricane. My
Mm-hmm.
wife told me to get off the island. I said, no, I've never left for hurricane. I'm not leaving the
Mm-hmm.
island. This is kind of like my place. So I never left. And that island, during that time, hurricane devastated it,
Mm-hmm.
like the Katrina. I had to leave. I was not an essential worker. I was on
Mm-hmm.
a work permit. I was not a local.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to leave and I
Mm-hmm.
had to go back to Texas.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where now I'm split. I've lost my business. My
Mm-hmm.
clients are gone. Money I had was gone because I
Mm-hmm.
bought an expensive car that drowned in the ocean. So what
Mm-hmm.
do I do? So I rented a $2,000 office. I borrowed the money from my dad.
Mm-hmm.
He said, I can give you more, but I said, no, just give me 2000
Mm-hmm.
to survive for 1 month.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and I borrowed that and I would sit at Starbucks and at the back of my MacBook, it says storyteller, and I would just write content while I'm thinking,
Mm-hmm.
and people will come and talk to me and they will listen to my stories of
Mm-hmm.
struggle. And I would publish those stories. And
Mm-hmm.
I started a press release distribution company.
Ah.
Intuitively,
Mm-hmm.
it was serendipity that happened that I would write my own stories of struggle. People
Mm-hmm.
found it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where his PR was born.
Mm-hmm.
And in a website that I had built, in the pricing page, I'm not a marketer by birth or by education,
Mm-hmm.
because I'm a scientist by that.
Mm-hmm.
So God taught me marketing, and they were on the pricing page, there were three columns.
Mm-hmm.
The price was $10, $20, and $2,000.
Ah.
So I guess, I don't know marketing, right?
Mm-hmm.
So $10 people think is cheap. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And it did say cheap.
Mm-hmm.
The middle was Kiss, and the right was some audacious name I don't even know.
Mm-hmm.
Remember. Okay. So everybody was buying Kiss PR
Right.
because it was $20. It was affordable for
Mm-hmm.
people. And they started to buy that from me. And hence, I named the company. I went and bought the domain name, which
Mm-hmm.
was already taken, paid $3,000 for the domain name. I
Mm-hmm.
paid for it and then I got it. That's when Kiss PR was
Mm-hmm.
really born.
Mm-hmm. In
And I started
Starbucks.
in Starbucks, okay, in Addison, Texas.
Mm-hmm.
So now this was great. I could
Mm-hmm.
make $200 a day.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I was paying my bills,
Mm-hmm.
hired my two kids.
Mm-hmm.
I went to Office Depot.
Mm-hmm.
I bought these, books where they write the chores and they get
Mm-hmm.
paid for it.
Mm-hmm.
So I said, okay, here's these things for you. Write your chores,
Mm-hmm.
and then for whatever you do, I'll pay you. But the chores will not do this for me. It says write the stories for me. So my
Ah.
son, who's a great writer,
Mm-hmm.
he's an attorney now, and my daughter, she's a speech pathologist.
Mm-hmm.
And they started to write the stories, and I would
Mm-hmm.
read them and fix them. And they will actually fix my grammar because my grammar wasn't that
Mm-hmm.
good. So they fix it, and we start publishing. And that's where
Mm-hmm.
our small news
Mm-hmm.
distribution company was born. So
Mm-hmm.
from adversity, I started to do this.
Mm-hmm. I
So that's
love
how
it.
we started.
Mm-hmm. And there's so much in there that is so important. So tell us again, what does KISS PR stand for?
PR stands for keep it super simple.
Mm-hmm.
Now, and PR stands for profound results. Now,
Mm-hmm.
why did I come up with KISS?
Mm-hmm.
So there was a lot of noise in marketing. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
people don't understand marketing smells like marketing. So I thought your story needs to be simple.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And the second part of the S was super simple or
Mm-hmm.
super simple for the search engines. So,
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of like that. So search engines like content that is written for people,
Mm-hmm.
not for the search engines.
Right.
Google will never buy anything from us,
Mm-hmm.
right? This podcast that you're going to publish
Mm-hmm.
is going to be heard by people, not by Googlebot.
Right.
So I understand that technology very well. So I
Mm-hmm.
thought, okay, if you do things simple,
Mm-hmm.
they resonate. So hence Kiss PR's name was created,
Mm-hmm.
and it became Moonshot.
And I love that because it is so true. People try and overly complicate anything. I go to websites and by the time I have to click 3 or 4 times to even try to find something, I'm like, nope, nope, I'm done. And or I was making a phone call earlier today and I got caught in the loop, right? Press here to go here, press here to go here, and then I was back at the start 3 or 4 times of that and I was done. um and we forget that we do like simple, and it doesn't mean that it's not good or cheap, all of those various things. We just like simple because then we can go on to the next thing. When I have to stop and
I'll
figure
actually
stuff
tell you
out.
why
Mm-hmm.
you like simple, I like simple.
Mm-hmm.
But most of the web designers, and this goes back to web designers and
Mm-hmm.
design studios and agencies,
Mm-hmm.
while they like simple, they complicate things to retain their job.
Right,
I
they
am
make it,
the
yeah, they
most
make it flashy, and yeah. Mm-hmm.
I am probably the most hated person when I say that,
Mm-hmm.
because when I hear a web designer selling something,
Mm-hmm.
he'll say you need 10 pages and
Mm-hmm.
you need 100 blogs and your website
Right.
is going to be 3,000. And I say, and this is the biggest pain a small business
Mm-hmm.
goes through.
Mm-hmm.
Why do I need 10 pages? But I
Mm-hmm.
only have 4 pages of content.
Mm-hmm.
No, because Google needs 10 pages. Why? Why? So
Mm-hmm.
people don't understand. As a result, they defer to an expert, hence
Mm-hmm.
the web designer and SEO guy.
Mm-hmm.
So they just listen to it. But you're
Mm-hmm.
right. Simplicity is give it to me. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
why are you making me jump from page one to page two? Like you said, you're
Mm-hmm.
looping it.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Why don't you just give it to me?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah,
Right.
simplicity is the way to go.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I looked at your website, which is kisspr.com, and it's very elegant and it is also very simple. I mean, it's very easy to navigate. There's nothing that leaps out at me. I always get really annoyed when there's like 900 pop-ups, because
Yeah.
I'm like, no. I mean, one or two is okay, but
Yeah.
when I'm trying to do something, and even worse, when I can't figure out how to close the pop-up,
Yeah, because they hide
right?
that. They hide that. So they want put the close button
Mm-hmm.
as a color that you don't see very
Mm-hmm.
easily with the eyes,
Mm-hmm.
and then you're just saying, well, where do I go?
Right.
So
Right.
kind of
Well, and where do I go is somewhere else.
yeah,
I'm like, no, I don't want to give you my email address. I don't want to sign up for your 1,000 tips to, do whatever. I just wanted to know this simple question that I had.
yeah,
And chatbots also do the same thing. I'm not a big fan of chatbots. Now, I know they've got their purpose. It does, there are ways to get some questions answered, and sometimes it gets you routed to the right place and all of those. But a lot of times you get caught in the chatbot loop also. And then
yeah,
again, I go on to the next thing, because it was not simple.
yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Well, and I love that it's that you're doing simple to get profound results.
yeah.
And that's the key. Is it really, it simple can get you those profound results as opposed to complicated getting
Exactly. And this is where the story really changed, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, like I said, I started a web design business in
Mm-hmm.
Texas. I was doing that. I was doing storytelling.
Mm-hmm.
Bills were getting paid. And then I realized that there has to be something that I need to do
Mm-hmm.
to bring in more money, because websites have one problem.
Mm-hmm.
Small business owners that are listening, that are in web business,
Mm-hmm.
they understand one problem. Once you do one website, you can only do 4 or 5 in a month because they
Mm-hmm.
take a lot of
Right.
time.
Mm-hmm.
So after that, the website doesn't make you money. So next
Mm-hmm.
month you have to find another 4 clients.
Mm-hmm.
So I needed to have recurring revenue.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I started to doing search engine
Okay.
optimization because the clients pay you money for that.
Mm-hmm.
Now, as part of the search engine optimization, one thing that I did was send out press releases,
Mm-hmm.
because press releases were very good in those days for SEO. So if you send out a press release, your website would rank faster on the Google search. So that was the algorithm's flaw, but that was good to the people. So we did that. We went to top companies, we bought press releases, but that's where the whole problem happened. So I had like 10, 12 clients, like anybody else, maybe 20 clients, and then I would go to a big wire service. I won't mention their name, but I would go to a big wire service and I say, I want to send out press releases for my clients. Yeah, great. They would give me a wholesale rate, maybe 20% discount from normal. I would pay for it and I will send a press release. The moment the press release is out, their salespeople would contact my clients, says, why are you doing this? We will give you a 50% discount if you do
Yeah, we're
business.
going to route around you.
Right. So there was client poaching happening. Now, some clients did not leave me, but people that were price cautious, they didn't see the value, they left me.
Right.
So this was what we call keeps me up at night moment. And I knew that I had to solve that problem. So that was one of the problems. So what I did was I started to reverse engineer how to make a press release company.
Okay.
Because I started with a website that was doing one piece of content. The press release companies are send out 1,000 releases to buyers. Once you do a press release, it goes to 5,000 sites. So how do I do that? So I started to reverse engineer how that works with the scientific background. And once I listened to Tony Robbins, and he says that go from should to must. So I am the kind of mindset, I don't settle for anything. So I go from must. So I built that relationship with the wire services. Hence, I start to democratize press releases.
Okay.
So people don't cut me off, and small businesses can take advantage of my services for half the price. Now, if people look at my website, a typical business charges, a big press release company charges anywhere between $300 to $1,500. We charge $30. And that's our business model. We have $30 to $100 press releases, and we are doing very good because we believe that you can make money, but the money has to be made ethically, not on the premise of cheating people. So we take care of the clients. We offer a great service, and as a result, it does very well for us.
Right.
So we are really democratizing it.
Well, and then of course the key is then those customers keep using your service, because you were inexpensive but good, and you got results. And I remember years ago when I first started doing public relations on my own, one of the things I discovered was a lot of people did think we can do it ourselves. That's pretty easy, right? Yeah, we can do that. And I talked to one client who came back to me because they had tried to do it themselves. And, and I said, so what was, just out of curiosity, what was your process when you tried to do it yourself? And they very sheepishly said, well, the sales department, right? Because those are the people, the sales department guy called his friend, the sports reporter. They were not in sports. They were not, and they could not understand why they didn't get any, any coverage, because there is a process, it's, when I started doing public relations many years ago, we won't say how far back, but it was before, it was when we actually still had to put them in envelopes and send pictures and mail them, right? But you built relationships with the reporters, but you have done the same thing with the wire services. So they know, okay, this is great content. It's a reputable company that you're talking about. What you're giving them is good information. They don't have to worry that, it's not good. And, so, your clients are happy because you made it simple for them.
Yeah. So that's the relationship part of the things. That's what started. But what became a moonshot was my partner called me one morning and he said that, are you able to travel with me? He was the sales guy. I was the nerd. So he says, are you able to come with me to New York to pitch a client? on some marketing.
Mhm.
This is like after 9/11, they were
Mhm.
looking for some marketing. So I said, where do we need to go? It says New York. So we booked a flight. Renee flew from West Palm Beach to New York City. I flew from Dallas to New York City. We met, had
Mhm.
coffee. And as I was leaving, this was like 6 o'clock in the morning. I
Mhm.
had an hour. There was Wi-Fi. So I wrote a story on the same
Mhm.
system that I had built about compensation for the firefighters.
Huh.
Okay.
Mhm.
They had given me some data, so I
Mhm.
wrote the document and I published it. It was not a published article like
Mhm.
the lawyer would write, but it was
Mhm.
written from empathy. And
Right.
so we published it,
Mhm.
and then we went to our meeting.
Mhm.
At 1 o'clock, when we landed at the client office,
Mhm.
they gave us the business without even us pitching. And my partner asked them, he said that you guys did something recently that this morning we got a call from the Firefighters Association and
Mhm.
they found this article.
Mhm.
And that was the article that I had written. So that article created
Mhm.
presence. So when somebody searched for it,
Mhm.
we were ecstatic. Like
Mhm.
we got a six-figure business that day.
Right.
And we were selling press releases for like $30, but we
Mhm.
didn't change that.
Mhm.
This was another moment that we realized the moment of truth that we have discovery.
Mhm.
So we started helping. We did this for another lawyer, another
Mhm.
lawyer, another lawyer.
Mhm.
And that is what pays the bills.
Mhm.
So, we are now helping a lot of law firms get their content
Mhm.
found. So,
Right.
the biggest challenge for a small business owner, as your audience is, somebody tells them write a blog. They
Mhm.
write a blog, they put it there. The blog doesn't do much
Mhm.
because blog is not discoverable.
Mhm.
So we have created a machine we call the content amplification machine.
Mhm.
So the blog, we pick up the blog turns into a press release through AI,
Mhm.
and then it amplifies it. So as a result, they are everywhere.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I
And
love
that's
you
the
and I
real.
may have to chat offline about this because this is very interesting and something that I
So,
would.
so here's something I want to tell you.
Mhm.
About 5 years ago, I met
Mhm.
a podcaster.
Mhm.
He connected with me. He was like you doing
Mhm.
podcasts. He had connected with me on LinkedIn. He said, I would like to interview on the podcast. I said, why
Mhm.
not?
Right.
I have a story. You have a
Mhm.
platform. So we became friends. Adam
Mhm.
and I became really good friends. Now he uses my service. And what
Mhm.
we did was we built a system where
Mhm.
we take every story that you do. So
Mhm.
this one that you're doing, you're
Mhm.
going to publish it as a podcast.
Mhm. Right.
Podcast would have a audio file or a
Mhm.
video file, and it'll have
Mhm.
a transcript. We take that electronically and we amplify. So now
Mhm.
your podcast is in about 1,000 wires,
Mhm.
and that is bringing a lot of traffic to
Mhm.
your audience. So
Right.
every small business wins,
Mhm.
and we have
Right.
developed
And
podcast.
again, it's simple. you
Yeah,
know, that's
it's very
that's the
simple.
thing. And it is so interesting because I think we talk about it being simple, but I think so many people assume it's difficult. But you have the process down. I mean, that is a big part of it. Is you go from here to here, and you mentioned AI, and that of course is one of the hot topics in the world. And I use AI. I don't use it an awful lot, but I use it to write my blog posts. And it's a totally different site that I do that pertains to dealing with cancer. And so I use it to write the blog post there. I don't have to change much. I mean, I like what it writes, but I post it and then crickets, right? But
Yeah.
how much are because the discussion really is the use of AI. I think it's a great tool. For people, it's not going away, folks. It's not going away. Get used to that. But what are some of the things that you use AI for?
So the first thing we use AI, that is great question, is we get almost 1,000 stories a day,
Mm-hmm.
and we have editors to review that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very hard for our editors to review the facts of the
Right.
content.
Mm-hmm.
So what I did was I created prompts for AI. So when the
Okay.
story comes in, so
Mm-hmm.
for example, your cancer story comes
Mm-hmm.
in, I've given a prompt to my system
Mm-hmm.
to take my prompts,
Mm-hmm.
parse your content in it, and tell me if this content is even making sense, because I'm
Okay.
not a cancer specialist.
Mm-hmm.
So the first thing we check is for, is it factual?
Mm-hmm.
So the AI checks it. The
Mm-hmm.
second thing is it written well from a
Mm-hmm.
journalistic opinion,
Mm-hmm.
or is it an op-ed, or is it an opinion? If it's an opinion, we decline it. We say, go and add some more supporting evidence.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So we use AI for fact checking,
Mm-hmm.
grammar, English,
Mm-hmm.
punctuations, because we don't want to send out content. And then
Mm-hmm.
we accept it or decline it. If we
Mm-hmm.
decline it, we send it back to the client and say,
Right.
hey, fix this.
Here's
They
why.
fixed it.
Mm-hmm.
Here's why. So the AI has made the editor's job. Before, we would take about 1 hour to read the
Mm-hmm.
story. Now the AI reads it for us, and then it says these are the
Mm-hmm.
flaws. So if
Mm-hmm.
it's a 2,000-word story,
Mm-hmm.
now we know where which paragraph is really a red flag. So we
Okay.
can detect.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. It also writes a disclaimer for us.
Mm-hmm.
So we will tell the AI, well, if you think this is a story that we can release, but it needs to cover
Mm-hmm.
ourselves,
Mm-hmm.
so it will write a disclaimer.
Mm-hmm.
And then I have written on top of that my own algorithm that graded the story
Mm-hmm.
from a scale of 1 to 10 or A to D.
Mm-hmm.
So then my AI system will say, well, this is A. So if it's A, my content that the person, so let's say your story got an A,
Mm-hmm.
you get back, let's say if you paid $30,
Mm-hmm.
you get back $10 back for being a good writer, because I want
Ah,
to reward you.
it
But if
took
you
you
are a
less
D,
time.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
if it's a D, we decline it twice,
Mm-hmm.
and then we say, we can't work with you. So we
Mm-hmm.
don't take the money away from
Right.
you, but at the same time, we
Mm-hmm.
decline you and we suspend your account for violating our terms.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one of the ways we do
Mm-hmm.
this. The second way to do the AI is, this is personal me.
Mm-hmm.
Before, I would write, I'm very good in conveying what I need to convey because
Mm-hmm.
I know the background. I would
Mm-hmm.
not write about cancer, but
Mm-hmm.
I would write, I'm a subject matter expert on
Mm-hmm.
technology. So I write about it.
Right.
So the challenge was I would write it,
Mm-hmm.
then I send it to my American editor, and she
Mm-hmm.
will edit it for
Mm-hmm.
context, and she will completely change. And I said, no, 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 don't change this. What I'm saying is correct. Just fix the grammar.
Mm-hmm.
So now it took about 3 to 4 days
Mm-hmm.
for it to come back.
Mm-hmm.
And that delayed my conversation. So
Right.
now what I do is I write it the
Mm-hmm.
way it is. I give it to ChatGPT.
Mm-hmm.
ChatGPT fixes it for me.
Mm-hmm.
Then I run it multiple times, and
Mm-hmm.
I won't even accept ChatGPT, but I'll say, fix this, fix that,
Mm-hmm.
rewrite this. And that has what took 4 days
Mm-hmm.
is now taking 30 minutes to come up with a
Right.
content.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I
Right.
use AI for.
Well, and fewer people. I mean, that's the other thing. And so and that's one of the things that people worry about. Well, to me, it's not that we're eliminating jobs. It's that we're freeing those people up to do something better.
Yeah, well, now my editor, who had to do 1,000 stories,
Mm-hmm.
is free to do other things
Right.
in the time that she could use
Mm-hmm.
as a human
Mm-hmm.
that AI cannot. So that,
Right.
because she knows the ecosystem,
Mm-hmm.
so now she uses that ecosystem to do
Mm-hmm.
the things better and enjoy. Because imagine if you have to read 1,000 stories or write 1,000 stories, you burn out. I
Right.
lost a lot of
Oh yeah.
content writers.
Mm-hmm.
I can't do this anymore. In
Mm-hmm.
fact, I had a lady, she wrote so many articles. We were writing articles about mesothelioma, which is part of the cancer.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like she quit after 10 articles. She said, I've written so many articles that I feel that I'm going to get mesothelioma. She got scared.
Oh,
So
she got a little PTSD from it.
exactly, because when you
Mm-hmm.
write so much
Mm-hmm.
content and you research, the other thing the AI does is give you the research,
Right.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Put it all together.
Mm-hmm.
So
Well,
I think it's
and
great.
and it obviously does it so much faster.
Yeah.
It's really funny when I, like I said, I use it to write my blog. I'm fascinated with watching it type. To me, that's just because it is just such a cool system. And again, it's freeing me up to do
Yeah.
other things. So I'm getting my thoughts, my content out there, but I'm not staring at the white screen or white piece of paper for hours upon hours, or worse, not even doing it. And so that's, to me, that's AI
Oh,
is definitely so
AI can
beneficial.
do spreadsheet analysis. It can be your accountant. It can
Right.
draw pictures for you, the
Hmm.
Dolly. So there's so much applications. I
Hmm.
think it's a great invention to
Right.
the brain.
Right. And I understand, some of why people are concerned, like when it creates true lifelike people, especially if they, say the actors. I mean,
Yeah.
that was a big thing not long ago. I mean, when it's doing that with actors, especially deceased actors, that's, maybe there needs to be some constraints on that. But yeah, otherwise, it's a great tool. But one of the things, and you've said this many times, and I really want to talk more about this, is that you are telling stories. And I think that is the thing that so many people forget is the important thing. And yes, it does keep it more simple. We're getting rid of, say, the technical parts. Now, obviously, if it's something that needs technical, then it gets technical. But why is it so important to tell stories?
Because as kids, we remember stories, we
Mm-hmm.
remember movies. I am a fan of James Bond,
Mm-hmm.
007. I grew up in that era, and my favorite movie is the James Bond movie. And
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember a lot of other movies,
Mm-hmm.
okay? Because what I like, so stories are what make you remember. They
Mm-hmm.
keep you on the edge,
Mm-hmm.
and they are my granddaughter, she
Mm-hmm.
watches these cartoons as stories, and she's learning so much that for a 3-year old, it's
Mm-hmm.
kind of like, wow, how did that happen?
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of like we remember stories, and stories have a message,
Mm-hmm.
okay, that we are trying to convey to people.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why stories are, and we just remember them.
Right. Well, and it makes it relatable. As we're recording this, the funeral service was held yesterday for Rosalind Carter, for our former First Lady, here in the United States, and I watched it, and one of the stories. Now, granted, it was just yesterday, but
Yeah.
it struck me as something that really did make it relatable. Her grandson told the story about the fact that she was just like every other grandmother. Most of her recipes contained mayonnaise. And how many people hear that and go, oh yeah.
Yeah.
Or grandma, he said, she still gave birthday cards with a $20 bill in it. Now my grandmother gave cards with a $2 bill in it, but it didn't matter the age, but we all, again, we could relate to that. And so all of a sudden, she was not the former first lady married to the former president of the United States. She was just like everybody's grandma.
Yeah.
And so then, and I think that's really what so many people forget about stories is it takes us to the level where we go, well, yeah, that might not have happened to me, but it could, or I know somebody it did. I mean, then it puts it back into the realm of, we can understand this now.
Well, stories are both good and bad. They can
Mm-hmm.
take us to depression because
Right.
whatever happened in the past,
Mm-hmm.
subconsciously we remember that. So
Mm-hmm.
the job of a storyteller is to really be careful because stories
Mm-hmm.
can also lie to you,
Mm-hmm.
be fictitious stories.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, storytelling, we relate to it.
Mm-hmm.
And the good storyteller is the one that when I'm watching or reading, I become the hero in that. So
Mm-hmm.
every
Mm-hmm.
time, even at this age, when I watch a James Bond movie, when I come out from the cinema, I feel I'm 007.
Right.
My friends call me Q. Q
Mm-hmm.
is the guy that, has a
He was the
watch and he
tech
gives
guy. Mm-hmm.
the guy. So I am the Q of the story.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe it so much that I've started living that life.
Mm-hmm.
I am the tech guy. So
Mm-hmm.
because I lived in the story
Mm-hmm.
and I started to believe it. So
Mm-hmm.
that's what it is.
Right. Well, and of course, when you're trying to sell a product or a service, that's what you want, is you want people to put themselves into that position where they go, oh yeah, I really need to, if not buy it, at least investigate it more.
Yeah, that story does that.
Mm-hmm. Right. And of course, the big thing about stories, and you mentioned it, it needs to be true, or, we need to
Yeah,
explain when it's not.
yeah,
Certainly,
well,
James
yeah,
Bond is,
yeah,
fiction. Um,
yeah.
but it is about how, and this was very evident when you were talking about your path to where you are now. It is how we create our personal branding. And I think so many people don't understand that concept either. So, what is personal branding and why should people even care about it?
Personal branding for somebody who lives in the US or otherwise is imagine like your credit score.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. If you have a 700 credit score, that means that when you go to the bank, they give you a car, they give you a
Right.
house loan.
Mm-hmm.
If you have a 500 credit score, then nobody wants to touch with you. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have a personal brand,
Mm-hmm.
that is you, that means that you are trusted,
Mm-hmm.
people love you, they do want to business with you.
Mm-hmm.
So those that are personal brands will be remembered, and
Mm-hmm.
then they start businesses. Barack Obama was a mere senator, became the
Mm-hmm.
president of the United States.
Mm-hmm.
Oprah
Mm-hmm.
was no one,
Right.
so it's kind of like these are examples of personal brands
Mm-hmm.
are, and nobody can take that away from you.
Mm-hmm.
You can sell this podcast,
Mm-hmm.
but people will still remember you, and you will always be remembered as
Mm-hmm.
the creator of the show,
Mm-hmm.
and that personal brand will not take away.
Right.
Companies do,
Mm-hmm.
so more and more people are investing. That's the class that I'm teaching here
Mm-hmm.
to the kids, is that when the college student leaves
Mm-hmm.
college, he's either the first thing he's going to do after high school is going to write his essay to apply to college.
Ah,
He's
right.
actually
Mm-hmm.
write a personal brand statement,
Mm-hmm.
why hire me? And
Mm-hmm.
then they go to college.
Mm-hmm.
Then he goes to uh, college, graduates, and
Mm-hmm.
then he has this degree, and he uses that degree as his reference point
Mm-hmm.
to get him a job.
Mm-hmm.
He updates his LinkedIn. We
Mm-hmm.
look at everything. You told me you looked at my LinkedIn
Mm-hmm.
because you were, if imagine my personal brand, you were going to interview me, and my
Mm-hmm.
LinkedIn was incomplete with the
Mm-hmm.
picture of the cat or the dog. Obviously, we wouldn't be discussing that,
Right. I'd be
right?
going,
So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, who is this guy? Why is
Mm-hmm.
he hiding? So, personal brands are important, and they need to be built with intention.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you're not caring about your personal brand, then you're forgetting about it.
Right.
That means the old word that I
Mm-hmm.
remember that most people have forgot is
Mm-hmm.
that my word is my bond.
Mm-hmm.
Like if I
Mm-hmm.
tell you I'm going to do this for you,
Right.
I'll do it. People don't do this anymore.
Mm-hmm.
They don't talk about the word. They'll keep on just telling you, okay, I'll do it
Mm-hmm.
tomorrow, I'll do it. Like, are you going to do it or not? So personal
Mm-hmm.
brand is your commitment
Mm-hmm.
to whatever you do. You can
Mm-hmm.
have a contract. You can't really win with a lot of contract, but if you have made a promise and you will deliver, and
Mm-hmm.
if you don't, then people will come at you,
Mm-hmm.
for
Right.
reputation.
Right.
So personal brands are really, really important.
So what happens if you've damaged your personal brand?
Now you have to repair it. Honestly, you have to first accept you
Okay.
the first thing I tell people in reputation, that you must accept what you did was wrong.
Okay.
Okay, because you damaged it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you did something. Don't keep denying it, because now you're making the denial viral. It's a
Mm-hmm.
fire, a wildfire. Okay, accept what you did, because God will forgive you as well as people will forgive you.
Mm-hmm.
If I say, Mom, I made a mistake, she's going to forgive you. But if
Mm-hmm.
you say, No, I just start to do this, she may still forgive you, but she will not leave you
She'll
alone. So
remember. Mm-hmm.
she will remember. So accept it, and then start to do things, like
Mm-hmm.
people that are go to the juvenile courts and
Mm-hmm.
all,
Mm-hmm.
they have to go and do 30 hours of this
Mm-hmm.
and 30 hours of that. So accept it, and then do a remedy for that.
Mm-hmm.
So you can fix it as long as you can fix it, you
Mm-hmm.
know.
Right. And I think that's so true. So many people, I didn't do that. No, not me. And sometimes maybe they didn't. But
Yeah.
I love the ones who are denying it when there's overwhelming evidence that they did.
Yes.
And you're right. If you say, you know what, I'm sorry, I screwed up, then we're like, okay.
Well, even if you did not do it, you
Mhm.
need to have your side of the story
Right. Yeah. Somehow there's something
succinctly,
in there.
very
Mhm.
clear,
Right.
right? And
Hmm.
then stick with it.
Hmm.
And then everything will prevail, because there are three
Hmm.
sides to the story:
Hmm.
yours, mine, and the real one.
Right.
So
Right.
it comes.
Yeah. And it is so true that you have to take responsibility. And so maybe it's that, you made bad choices that put you into that situation, or, and I think the other thing that so many people try and do is they try to defer that. It wasn't me, it was that person. Well,
Yeah,
maybe
deferring
it
is not
was.
good.
But
and
yeah,
closing the eyes is
mhm.
not good.
Yeah,
Yeah, you
we don't want to
need
hear
to
that,
deal with it. Yeah.
and so yeah, it's but yeah, it's so interesting. Well, oh my gosh, Kamar, this has been such a fascinating discussion, and I love this. And like I said, I think you and I need to chat offline because there's several things that I
Yes,
want to talk with you about. But
sure.
we've only got a couple of minutes left. So tell us, how do people find you, and what are the services that you provide?
Our services are simple. We are brand storytellers.
Hmm.
We can either tell your story or we can amplify your story. So
Hmm.
the starting point is they go to
Hmm.
story, dot, like the dot,
Hmm.
kispr.com. That's
Hmm.
our storytelling business.
Okay.
If they go to story.kispr.com, it will say amplification of your story. It's very simple.
Hmm.
We have outlined everything. We have price points. They can create an
Hmm.
account and they can just do it for very small money. Now,
Hmm.
if they want us to do and help them,
Hmm.
we have access to support. They can also talk to me. We provide that services, so it's
Hmm.
kept it simple. Small businesses use us.
Hmm.
We get almost like 1,000 stories from small businesses every single day,
Wow.
and we distribute it and we help them. Uh, and that is the biggest moonshot that I'm trying to achieve. I want to
Hmm.
democratize. And in 2019-20, when COVID hit,
Hmm.
uh, I had to make a choice. What can I do,
Hmm.
for the community? And this was not the US community,
Hmm.
this was the world
Right.
community
Hmm.
because everybody was affected.
Hmm.
So I opened up doors and I offered free storytelling services.
Wow.
And I gave about $500,000 worth that I would have made
Hmm.
worth of stories.
Hmm.
Even to date, if somebody has a story and they can't afford it, they
Hmm.
can reach out our support desk and they can send a story
Hmm.
and we will publish it
Hmm.
for them. We won't charge them. So that's what we still do. We
Hmm.
don't advertise it as much as we do, but we
Hmm.
do offer help. We work with nonprofits. We
Hmm.
give them that also. So that's the best way to find us. And at the end of the day, it's really a moonshot.
Hmm.
I am trying to help any business owner
Hmm.
that wants to do this.
Hmm.
There is a quotation from a famous book, and that quotation says, "If your mind can believe,
Hmm.
you can achieve."
Hmm.
Okay, if your mind can believe, you can achieve. So I use that philosophy all the time, and then Um, we just have it's from Napoleon Hill,
Hmm.
Think and Grow Rich. That's my
Hmm.
favorite book.
I
So
love it.
that's really what we do and
Hmm.
help everyone that we can.
So much
Every
fun.
step
I
of the
love it. And such a wonderful service that you provide. Well, as I said, we need to wrap up. So do you have any final thoughts that you want to leave everyone with?
I just want to tell everyone that's in the business of running a business that the biggest challenge for a small business owner is how to get the message out. You're a plumber, you're an electrician, your business is low, what to do to get it out. And the best way to get it out is do it at least once and do it more often. I am a believer that if you don't do it, nothing will happen. Okay. 10 years ago, I wanted to get into fitness and I went to the gym and I could not do one pull up. Okay. And I read a book about the famous Arnold, and I read a book about that, and he says, if you can't do 20 pull-ups, do one pull-up. If you can't do one, do an assisted half pull-up. So I started believing in that. Now I can do 20 pull-ups. So it's kind of like at least do one, then do one and a half, then do two, but don't give up. Okay. And always believe that God created us with a promise that if you remember me, I will remember you. Okay. That is my big faith. I may not be as religious as everybody else was, but if you remember me, I will remember you. So you do need to somehow appreciate God in some way or shape or form. People forget that. They complain to God. They don't do anything, but yet they say God didn't do anything for me.
Mhm.
So I think, well, you're not giving back, to God. So those are the two key takeaways.
I love it. Well, I have been having such a wonderful discussion with Kamar Zaman of KISS PR. I'm Deb Creer, and until next time, everyone have a great day.
Tune in for our next program for even more trends, best practices, and techniques for how to make your business a success. The Business Power Hour, hosted by Deb Creer, is proud to be part of the C-Suite Network.